Varun Chopra and Jonathan Trott both scored important 50s as Warwickshire kept themselves in touch with Sussex on the second day of the LV County Championship match in Horsham. Sussex had lost 4 wickets for 19 runs at the end of the first day, and Warwickshire would have been hopeful of getting the innings over and done with as soon as possible on the second morning. However, they were instead held up by Ben Brown and James Treadwell, who applied themselves really well by batting through the first 24 overs of the day in adding 71 runs overall for the 8th wicket. They'd started the morning on 314 for 7, having been 294 for 3 at one stage, but in what were fair conditions for both batting and bowling in, these two helped their side out greatly. Had either fallen first thing, then Sussex may have been in a bit of trouble. The total read 384 when Treadwell was out for 33 after more than an hour and a half at the crease. Tim Ambrose with the catch to offer Jitan Patel his first and only wicket of the innings. Brown went on to make 48, taking his side beyond 400, but well after the bonus points overs had been completed. The keeper had batted right through the morning session, but was then trapped in front by Boyd Rankin, who followed that up 2 balls later by dismantling Lewis Hatchett's stumps, but Sussex would have been pleased to have got as far as 413 in the end, especially when they had Warwickshire 2 down with just 30 runs in reply. Steve McGoffin, who claimed match figures of 12 for 31 at this ground last year, had Ian Westwood caught in the slips by Chris Jordan, while Will Porterfield was taken behind by Brown off Hatchett after making a dozen. That left a job for Chopra and Trott to do. They both had to tough it out in the opening stages of their innings as the home attack all delivered excellent spells. Both batsmen would have been relieved to get the ball to the boundary. This was quality championship cricket involving some very talented players. Sussex were convinced that Trott had nicked the former Warwickshire player Stefan Pilot to Brown, but both batsmen and umpire remained unmoved. And after that moment, the former England man began to settle into his groove with the kind of shots which made him one of the best batsmen in the world until his winter troubles. If anyone doubted that he was up for the fight these days, they just had to watch this innings. Chopra, meanwhile, has been in a terrible run of form latterly, failing to score even 1 half-century in his last 13 innings. He too hadn't looked too convincing at the start of this knock, but he is leading a side which has hit its straps in recent matches. Yorkshire's win over Middlesex has made a victory for Warwickshire here all the more important. Chopra must have been relieved when he got to a 50 at last off 109 balls, getting to his mark with his 8th 4. For a man who scored so many runs in the last couple of seasons, this was just his 3rd 50 from 19 championship innings this summer. For Trott, this was just his 6th knock, and a glorious stroke took him to his 2nd half-century, one which had used up 160 deliveries, from which 7 boundaries had been struck. He and his partner were looking in fine fettle as the day moved towards its close. For 40 overs they'd worked hard for the 125 runs they'd added together, a partnership which ensured that their side was not going to be left behind on first innings. Hatchett worked well in tandem with Treadwell for a while, and the left armer deserved his wicket, which came half an hour before the end of the day, Chopra falling for a season's best 81. Sam Hain could have been held by Ed Joyce at leg slip before stumps were drawn, but that chance went begging and meant that Warwickshire reached the halfway stage of this contest on 163 for 3, which will see them start the 3rd day 250 runs behind, with Trott still there after more than 3 hours of crease occupation for his 62.